He speaks up for patients quite often and is helping with changing the legislation for here in Washington State. So let's hear it for John Novak.
It's good to see you all here today. I want to thank the organizers of the event. Cannabis freedom to me means more than just being able to go out and buy it. It means being able to cultivate it, like Dr. Sunil was talking about, share. But as patients, we also need to be able to designate someone to grow it for us. And that doesn't mean a corporation, although it may, but it could be an individual. One of the things that I've found as far as patients go is we require not only more amounts, but we require specific strains. Many of us do. It took me, once I got my authorization, it took me about 3.5 years to finally find the strains that really worked well for me. One of the strains, I call it my daytime strain, is a rare heirloom sativa out of Thailand. And I have never found that strain in any of the medical shops. And if it's not in the medical shops, I'm pretty certain that you're not going to find it in 502 shops. And I know that I'm not alone in that needing to find specific strains. And it's not only just the strains, it's also the plants and the way they're grown. And under a large commercial system, you're never going to be able to meet the patient's needs. While you may be able to supplement it, you're never going to be able to completely meet the needs of the patients. So earlier this year, we pushed forth a home grow bill for all adults, for sharing, for criminal reduction, and we were able to get it as far as a public hearing with the legislators. And we had a pretty large group of medical patients show up, quite a few in the audience here today. Several of the speakers were there as well. And by the end of the hearing, the legislators on the Commerce and Gaming Committee were pretty well convinced that this was probably something that needs to be done. Now the unfortunate side is the politics, the way the game is played now. It takes a lot of money to be able to push through bills, and we didn't have any money. We didn't give any political kickbacks. We didn't do anything of the sort. And so after the hearing was over, we got word back from several of the co-sponsors on the bill saying that the bill's dead. It's not going to move. And it's not going to move basically because of one man who was the head of the committee. His name was Representative Christopher Hurst. So that was the bad news. Now the good news. Representative Hurst has announced he will not be running for a seat next time around. So hopefully we can get somebody who is a little more patient and consumer friendly than a group that's just trying to line their pockets, not only for themselves, but to bring about monopolization of cannabis. One of the things that we do on 420 Leaks is we request public records. Now, we're not hackers. We don't go discovering stuff illegally. We just ask for the public records, and they hand us their secrets. And since just after 502 was passed, we started doing public records and with the Liquor Control Board, Department of Health, Department of Revenue, State Patrol, all different agencies. And one thing became pretty crystal clear through all of this, and that was there was a dedicated effort to shut down medical cannabis in this state. Not only to shut down the collective gardens, but to de-incentivize the doctors from even writing the authorizations. So the thought was 90% or more of us were faking it. So we needed to be channeled into the recreational market. Now, one of the things that I learned when I was down in Olympia was what's called the 10-year plan. And the 10-year plan was to basically monopolize the market, knock out the competitor, all the competition, and eventually turn it over to one or two large multinational corporations that would control all of it with like one or two major large grows. Now, that plan has slowly been moving forward, and we can see that a lot of other states are starting to try to do the same things. One of the biggest things that we need to do as a community is to start coming out, not only like we're doing here, but forming political action committees. Signing up, not on a registry, but signing up with a political action committee and saying we're not going to take this anymore. One of the great things that the election for president this cycle has really shown us, there's two schools of thought that we're hearing from the candidates. The main one is to put it into Schedule 2, and then they say we'll allow the states to decide from there.